Now, these two stories are from different countries but about the same issue, domestic violence. He Yuhong is a Chinese beauty vlogger. Her online name is Yuya Mika and she lives in southwestern China. Melissa Benoist is a Hollywood actress. She lives in Los Angeles. She stars in Supergirl, an American CBS series. They've both got thousands of social media followers, as you would expect, and they've both shared videos on their accounts talking openly about the domestic abuse that they have suffered. Melissa Benoist did not name her abuser, but she said she is a survivor of domestic violence. Here she explains why it was so difficult for her to talk openly about it.
To my closest circle, I just plain lied. I made up stories of how bruises and scratches were born. I did this at photo shoots, at work, with my family, all to shield myself from my own burgeoning anger, protect myself from more arguments, and of course, to protect him. I knew how he was treating me was wrong, but I thought the consequences he would suffer if I exposed his behavior outweighed suffering through it. And then he threw something at my face again, only this time it was significantly worse. It was a blow to my face with his iPhone. The impact tore my iris, nearly ruptured my eyeball, lacerated my skin, and broke my nose. My left eye swelled shut. I had a fat lip. Blood was coursing down my face, and I can remember immediately screaming at the top of my lungs. The next morning, I was due to work on reshoots for a film. After it happened, complete stillness blanketed the room. We panicked. This wasn't going to be easy to hide, let alone fix, and something inside of me broke. This was too far. I couldn't flush this one down with the tug of the drain. We made up a flimsy story together. I had tripped and fallen on the stairs of our deck and hit my face on a potted plant. We called our mothers, all of our representatives, all of my representatives, who then had to call producers and directors I was working with. He drove me to the hospital. And when the ER doctors made him leave the room and cops came to question me at my hospital bed, I told them our transparent story that I'm sure they'd heard versions of before. A friend visited me where I was working. My abuser wasn't there, so she had a rare opportunity to talk to me without his looming presence. She sat me down and said she wanted to talk about something important, and I immediately knew where it was going. My heart pounded. She was nervous, shaking, afraid that it would ruin our relationship, but she bravely asked me if I was a victim of domestic violence. It was the first moment I spoke about the abuse to anyone, and I can't describe the amount of relief and solace I felt. She held me and she said, "You know what you have to do now, don't you?"
Well, that was Melissa Benoist. She posted that on Instagram. It's just a section of what she said as she poured open her heart to her thousands of followers. Let's speak now to Kerry Allen, the BBC's Chinese media analyst, and also Gail Murphy, an entertainment reporter in LA. Gail, I mean, that was incredibly difficult to listen to, and I'm assuming the reaction to that has been one of commending her bravery.
Yeah, you'd have to be Supergirl to listen to it.
It's true. What are people saying in response to her opening up about something that's so private?
Well, after sharing her story, she was in Texas when she shot that. She promoted a hashtag that said, "I stand with Melissa," so that it would trend on Twitter to hundreds of social media users. All came back offering her words of support. Interestingly enough, she is a very outspoken person on domestic abuse anyway. So she was a big campaigner, shared lots of inspirational messages on pages of I Am Not Okay and A Future Without Violence on Instagram. So it's people are talking about it, but I don't think they're just saying just one thing.
I want to bring in Kerry Allen because, you know, this is two stories, one from the US, one from China, and the different approach culturally to domestic abuse between the two countries is stark, isn't it?
It is, yes. I mean, China has only really had a law for domestic violence since 2016, and it's traditionally been associated, the idea of domestic violence. When I was living in China, it was very common to see partners in the street hitting their wives. And people don't intervene because they see it as a private affair. They don't see it as anything that they can get involved in. And actually, before 2001, physical abuse was not even grounds for divorce. So people who had been beaten by their partners couldn't file for divorce as using this. But yeah, because there's only been in the last 3 years a law that allows people to seek justice for domestic violence, attitudes are still not catching up, and people do feel that if they do put forward a case, that the likelihood of it being successful is very, very slim.
So in light of that, what has been the response to this beauty vloggers outpouring of her experiences?
Well, it's similar as with the US, there was a hashtag that took off. So this woman, He Yuhong, she used the hashtag no longer silent faced with domestic violence, and she posted this video, and because she posted CCTV surveillance footage that she claims shows her and her former partner. I mean, this is the case now in China, that because there is such a slim case of people winning in court over domestic violence, that they have to provide physical evidence. And people seeing this footage of I mean, we don't know for sure that it's her, but because at the moment there's an investigation still ongoing, but a woman being dragged out of a lift by her ankles. So the surveillance footage was in the lift, and she's fighting to get away, she's struggling, and this man's just very aggressively pulling her. People were stunned by this, and they also heard testimonials from women claiming to be former wives of this man as well. So it wasn't just her case, there was a building momentum behind it. And I mean, looking at the social media comments on Sina Weibo, which is what people would use instead of Facebook or Twitter within China, so many of the comments I saw were from people giving their own experiences of domestic violence. And the official statistics suggest that, I mean, we only know for married women, but as many as 30% of married women in China have had some form of domestic violence in their relationship.
Gail, it's quite specific, yeah, the details that Melissa Benoist goes into about her former partner. I mean, clearly we don't want to name or speculate, but did she get the police involved? Have any charges been pressed against anybody in relation to this?
No, and that's the thing. She never names her abuser. And she said even in this one incident where her friend came to her bed in the hospital, she feared having to answer that question. At the end of her video, she says, "None of this is salacious news. It was my reality. What I went through caused a tectonic shift in my outlook on life." And she wanted to tell her story. She's still in process, because at some point she will report this person, because if she were coming out of the supermarket and somebody had done that to her going to her car, you know that person would be on trial right now. The difference is this is someone she was intimately involved in. So that will be, I believe, will be part of her healing process.
Gail, thank you for your time. Gail Murphy, entertainment reporter in Los Angeles. We also heard from Kerry Allen, the BBC's China media analyst. And if you have been affected by anything that you've heard, you can search for the BBC Action Line online, and you will find all the advice that you need there.